If you use Remix, you might think that it's a very basic IDE that can be compared to VSC with, for example, Hardhat. But actually, if you use plugins, you can accomplish a lot. Remix without any plugins is very lightweight and simple, but if you go to the plugins tab, you can see that there is a lot of plugins, but some of them are very useful and some of them might be useless, especially if you only work on Solidity. That's why we selected the best plugins and we'll highlight them for you. First useful plugin you can use in your day-to-day work is the Git plugin. It's called DGIT, so I installed both of the modules, and now when I go to the DGIT home here, I can select clone, push and pull repositories and clone a repository I want. So I paste the URL, click the clone. It says that it will create a new workspace, so that it will be separated from all of the other contracts. And it also asks for some permissions. Shortly after the process is finished, so I can go back to my files, and here I can see that it cloned all of the files from the repository. And now, let's say I want to add a README, and when I go back to the plugin and go to the source control option, I can see it in the stage changes. So I'll add the README, it's now staged, and I can push it, but say I want to push it to a new branch, so I call the branch README. It created a new branch, and now when I go to the push option and I push it. And that's it, very simple and useful. Make sure to have decentralized Git in your toolkit. The next very important plugin here is DEBUGGER. So I'll activate it and let's see how it works. I'll deploy a new contract, a very simple one, and I select a breakpoint here. And now when I run the mint transaction, so say I want mint some tokens to my address and put some amount here, you can see that I have the debug option. And when I click on it, I see the whole debug section here. Here you have a lot of options and information of the state of the application. You can debug all of the values, see all of the opcodes, and also you can jump to breakpoints. So when I click on the jump to the next breakpoint, it navigated me to the breakpoint I selected, and I can debug the amount, for example, and I see that amount is 100, and I see the whole state of the contract, so that total supply is 102. I think that Debugger is the most important plugin, so you must have it, and it always comes clutch when you need to debug something and fix some issues in your smart contracts. The next very important plugin is Gas Profiler. To use it, you simply need to run any transaction. So I'm running a mint transaction, and now I'll go to the plugin here, and I can see all the details about the transaction. So I can use the transaction hash and see it on ETHERSCAN, but also immediately I'm able to see the transaction cost and execution cost. So it's very useful, especially if you want to optimize some functions. So now I could change something and make it more cheaper and see the transaction cost, whether it improved or not. So again, very simple yet important plugin. The next plugin you probably need is Solidity unit testing. It's very important to test your smart contracts, and if you want to test them using Solidity language, then you make sure to install this plugin. And so when I open the home, I can see all of the tests I have here. So I just can click on run and select how many of them I want to run. And then I can see whether the tests pass or not. If I want, I can click on the start debugging option to debug what happened, especially when the tests don't pass. But if you are not interested in Solidity tests, you can just run the JS tests. And to do this, you just click on the run script option here. If it's not working, you just make sure that you compile the contract you want to test and run it again. And now everything's passing, so it's all good.
Another useful plugin is ETHERSCAN contract verification. If you type what I just said, you can find it here. So let's go strictly to this plugin. Well, a very important thing is that it depends on ETHERSCAN. So if ETHERSCAN fails, so there might be a problem with your verified contract. First of all, as you can see, you can choose the contract. You can also pass the arguments, right? You need the contract address that you've deployed to verify it. But first of all, before this screen, you will find the question about your API key, which you probably don't have already. So let's go to the settings. And here, if you scroll down, you can find ETHERSCAN access token. So you have to pass the token here, and how to get the token? Simply you go to the ETHERSCAN.io website, and there you have to register, and in your profile you can find your API token. We will leave the link in the description about it if you will not manage to do that by yourself. But going back to our plugin, we will choose the owner because we already deployed the contract of the owner. Let's go to the deployment section. Yes, let's copy the contract and let's go back. And this contract has no arguments, so we can simply verify that. As you can see, contract verified correctly. Let's go to the ETHERSCAN to check if the contract is verified. And finally, as we can see, here you have the contract verified. You can access the functions, the variables, everything that's public in this contract. Another very useful and very similar plugin is SOURCIFY. It also works for verifying contracts. It's decentralized by itself, so it's more secure than ETHERSCAN contract verification. Let's go straight to the SOURCIFY to test its abilities. So let's go for the verifier option first, because we have to. We'll go for the girly, because we are using girly for deployment. And let's pass the contract address that we created for the verification. It's called owner, and let's verify that. As you can see, contract successfully verified. So if we go to the contract on the ETHERSCAN, you can also find the information that it's verified. And for the second option, it's a contract lookup, so we can fetch the data to the remix strictly from the certain address. As you can see, it needs the access, asks us for the access, and you can strictly get all the information in the remix soon. Okay, and as you can see, we have to find the files called by our address, our smart contract address, and inside of it you will find the artifacts, JSON metadata, and so on. Another very nice plugin is called LEARNETH that we recommend for you. It's worth checking out because there you can find a lot of different guides. For example, if you go there, you have the basics, a lot of the stuff about Solidity, ERC20, NFT, and so on. We can check the first one, for example, and you have a lot of different options. So you have the explanation for the interface introduction, right to the remix, loading, compiling. It just lets you go through all the Solidity remix basic stuff. We plan to go for the video, but let us know if you would like to see such a video by leaving information in comments. Another nice thing that you can find through the plugins inside the remix is such a thing as chain support. For example, we'll go through the STARKNET in this tutorial video. So it's basically the layer 2 solution that you can use inside the remix. And if you never heard about the Cairo, you can check out Cairo documentation on how to create layer 2 contracts using Cairo. And if you are curious about it, you can check out also our other videos. We will leave the link in the description if you are. So let's go for the plugin. You can find the information that you can compile. The contract Cairo, we already prepared very basic contract, and here you can choose the network, and also you can create deploy script. Let's check the deploy script. So it's very similar to the previous plugin about fetching, which just creates the script inside the remix tool. This is our generated deployment script for Cairo. Let's go back and deploy the contract. And as you can see, there's a deployed contract address and also transaction hash. And the last one plugin for today is about language support, and we'll go for the VYPER this time. We prepared the contract in VYPER language. If you go to the plugin, you can check the compatibility of the contract very quick through this. You can also deploy VYPER contract in Remix through the deployment options. We got arguments so we can transact. And here you have the ready deployed contract. This is our quick tutorial about Remix plugins. If you are interested in our other videos, check it out, leave a like, hit a subscribe button and leave a comment if you have any question. Thank you for your time. See you.